Now, turn to Section 3.
Section 3. You will hear two doctoral students, Lena and Callum, discussing a journal article on moral disengagement in professional environments. They are preparing a joint seminar presentation on the findings and are deciding which aspects to focus on. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Right, Callum. I've finally waded through the Hargreaves and Okoro paper. Before we draft our presentation slides, what's your initial critique?
To be honest, while the premise is compelling, I think we need to preempt some of the inevitable skepticism regarding their methodology. If we don't acknowledge the flaws, the seminar group will surely eviscerate us.
I assume you're referring to the cohort size. It's the most conspicuous target for criticism.
Actually, I'd bracket that off for now. The authors provide a fairly robust defense of their participant numbers in the supplementary data. No, the glaring deficit for me is the homogeneity of the recruitment pool. By sourcing candidates exclusively from the legal sphere, they've created a vocational silo. You simply cannot extrapolate those findings to the medical or pedagogical sectors.
I'm inclined to agree. That lack of sectoral diversity is a major hurdle, and I'm equally dubious about the subjective testimony they relied on. When you ask high-stakes professionals to self-evaluate their own integrity, the social desirability bias is going to be pervasive. They'll inevitably sanitize their accounts to preserve their professional ego.
Precisely. It's a fundamental design flaw. I thought the alignment of the control groups was a bit tenuous as well, but
I think that's perhaps splitting hairs, Callum. Given the access constraints, their matching was adequate. Let's pivot to the findings. We need to distill this down to two core outcomes.
Right. The attenuation of empathy is an obvious candidate, but I found the effect size there rather underwhelming.
And the data on collective groupthink was even more circumstantial. I'd suggest we omit that entirely, despite its thematic appeal.
I was tempted by the biometric markers. The physiological data on cognitive load was quite striking.
I'll veto that, Callum. We'll end up delivering a neurology lecture, which is outside our remit. No, the most empirically sound result is the degradation of performance during iterative task sequences. The way decision-making falters over consecutive choices is a vital takeaway for any training module.
Fair point. And for the second, I think the shifts in the attribution of agency, how individuals reapportion responsibility through moral disengagement, is the most theoretically dense part of the study. It's the linchpin of the whole paper.
Before you hear the rest of the conversations, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 25 to 30.
Agreed. Now, to summarize their central thesis for the audience, they're essentially postulating that ethical drift isn't a byproduct of an individual's character. It's not about innate disposition.
exactly. It's an environmental byproduct. The culprit is prolonged immersion in high-pressure institutional settings. They argue the catalyst is the incremental erosion of what they term cognitive reflexivity, that internal evaluative loop where a professional audits their own behavior.
And they're adamant that this attrition is progressive. It isn't a binary event or a sudden threshold. It's a gradual slope.
Quite. And it's alarming how rapidly it sets in. They observed discernible shifts within the initial year of a practitioner's tenure.
The accelerant is clearly institutional pressure, the relentless demand for velocity and volume over ethical pause.
Ultimately, they suggest that the only mitigation is to build structured feedback loops into the very fabric of the organization. Without those opportunities for reflection, the moral erosion becomes irreversible.
Right. I think we have a coherent narrative there. Let's get to work on the visual aids.
That is the end of Section 3.